Hello, welcome back to Dukascopy TV. I'm Natalie MacDonald. Today, Jean-François of Owczarczak is back in the studio with us to discuss some of your favourite pairs. Jean-François, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having us back. We're on our homepage here. I just wanted to expand on this menu here, which is called Tools, which includes our coaching, as well as a few examples of our Investor's View, Explained, Trader's View, our live streaming scalping views, as well as our mosaic presentation. But let's now pop into the Dukascopy directory, still with your live price streaming charts, and let's go to the dollar rates. We're going to have to look, as last week, at the hourly mosaic of most of the dollar rates. Last week we were mentioning that most currencies were still in a downtrend against the dollar. In fact, we focused also on the euro, and we have seen some signs of exaggeration. The risk index was in the green, and we had some stress on the envelopes, but we didn't believe that was enough to turn the trend. There was still some potential to the downside, and that potential was fulfilled during the early part of this week. Now, to gain a larger perspective, I wanted to have a look at the dailies. And so if we look at the dailies here, also on a mosaic basis, we see that most important pairs against the dollar are showing a correction down or a strong downtrend. The euro has a corrective potential down towards the 127, so there's probably another 3 figures to go. And usually the daily provides a perspective over 2 to 3 months. The pound sterling also has another 4 or 5 figures to go. Although we see some signs of exaggeration here, the trend is very strong, and I wouldn't act on such exaggeration. Now, if we have a closer look at the euro on our investors' views, we still see that the euro is in the initial stages of an uptrend on our weekly charts. On the daily charts, we have initiated a correction down, and as said, with a potential of another 2 or 3 figures to go. And on the hourly, we're still heading down. Some signs of exaggerations, although the risk index has moved up, and which means that if prices don't correct, risk goes up. It usually signals a resummance of the trend. So we still believe there's some potential down on the hourly, which is confirmed as with what we see here on the daily.
FX traders are holding on for the ECB rate decision tomorrow, and today's Eurozone GDP figure, revised GDP figure, was considered weak but met expectations. So what are we seeing on the traders' view? Well,
let's focus on the traders' view. Well, we're in a correction up on the 60-minute chart. And basically, this correction up has an upper boundary at about 131.63. As long as we stay below that boundary, basically we still justifies the downtrend over the longer frequencies. And it seems like the 15 minutes and the 4 minutes are confirming that this resume downtrend is taking place. So basically, the trader's view is in a correction up on the 60 minutes, which doesn't justify a change of stance on the investor's view.
So if we head back to the mosaic view, what's next on our list for today?
Well, let's have a look at GDP. Well, it's still quite aggressively down on the long-term weekly charts. The correction up since 2010 has resumed its downtrend. The potential is quite scary, so that's a long-term view. It's about a year's out. The dailies are aggressively down, and as said, probably have 4 to 5 more figures to go. Although initial exaggeration, although we see initial exaggeration measures, the downtrend is still very strong. And here, also a similar picture as on the euro. Risk index is coming up, price is not moving, lateral consolidation, and probably a resummance of the trend to come. The potential, short term, we are impulsive 2 down, and there's probably a potential towards the 149, 148 level.
Looking at cable movements today, we've got Bank of England Governor Mervyn King's comments that some banks are still too big to fail, and that's a big concern for supervisors. Naturally, we're also looking ahead towards NFP Friday. So what about the trader's view for the cable?
Well, basically, the comments today were not really meant to reverse the trend on cable. And we're pretty much in the same situation as on the euro. We are on a correction up on the 60 minutes. We would really need to make it above the 151.85, 152 level to start considering a bigger consolidation up, which is not the case. And the 15 minutes and 4 minutes are still heading down. And so in that respect, I'd have a pretty similar analysis as on the euro. And we still think that we should watch the dailies, which are still aggressively down and showing 4 or 5 figures more potential over the next weeks, month or so.
We took a look at the dollar-yen last week, and I believe we're going to take another peek today. So let's see what's happening with the dollar-yen pairing.
Well, basically, dollar-yen on a long-term basis is in quite a strong uptrend. As you see here, there's still some potential. We're not quite in the risk level yet. We have targets which could reach up to the 100 level. Although there's some short-term exaggeration, this move is not over. Now, if we look at the daily, we've reached an intermediate top. There's quite a lot of signs of exaggeration with our risk index in the red here, and stress on the envelopes. Usually when you have stress with the envelope still heavily moving up, you're looking at an intermediate correction, and that's what we think we're seeing at the moment. So it's intermediate correction. As you've seen, we've seen a first leg down here with the risk index going into the green, and hence the current reaction. Some more potential towards the previous stops, but we believe that the exaggeration that you have here on the dailies will end up as the consolidation should continue another few weeks. I wanted to have another perspective today, maybe look at gold. And so if we look at gold here, we're going to look at an investor's view. So if we look at the long-term charts, the envelopes are still slightly heading up, hence it's still considered a bull trend on the weekly charts, although many points of stress here signal exaggeration, and the risk index has already started to turn down. And that is confirmed on the daily basis, which is in a strong downtrend with a potential which is quite dangerous still. It could lead down below 1500. Initial points of stress, but a strong downtrend, and so at this stage we would caution that we're still in a downtrend and that we should still watch out on gold. Shorter term, on the hourly, we've reached quite a strong exaggeration point around the 20th of February with stress on the envelopes, or risk index in the green area. But the reaction up, very little reaction on price, the risk index is climbing up. That usually signals in the downtrend that a resumed downtrend should be coming. So still watch out on gold, there's still potential down.
Jean-François, thank you very much. We look forward to your comments next week. Thank
you very much, Natalie.
Jean-François will be back with us next week. However, don't go away, we've got plenty more exclusive interviews. But for now, goodbye.